Hey, what's up everybody? I just put a members video out yesterday, so if you want to go check that out, definitely go do so. I'm looking at Google Trends real quick, and I'm going to show you XRP. You can see it's steadily climbing up, but then what I want to do is I want to compare that to Ethereum. So I'll just put in ETH, and you can see XRP versus Ethereum. I mean, oh my goodness. And you would think ETH would totally destroy XRP. But then you could say, well, because you typed in ETH, you didn't type in Ethereum. So I'll do that. There we go, Ethereum. So we have Ethereum. And you can see it's really no difference. So I think this was the past day. So let's go to the past 12 months. And if we look at this, oh my goodness. So, and it's interesting because Ethereum is a much bigger market cap, right? So I thought that was kind of cool. So there you go, interesting. Now if you scroll down, you can kind of see in the United States, or I'm sorry, the whole world, right? You can see the blue and Russia, Canada. You know, you got a little bit of Ethereum in these countries. So I thought that was interesting. So anyway, XRP is almost at $3. It actually hit $3, and so yeah. So what's going on here? Is this wave finished? Well, we're going to talk about it. So let's zoom out and let's remember exactly where we're at here. So when we look at this amazing chart, we have, obviously we just had our weekly close. So we have a bullish engulfing weekly candle, which is really, really good. And we closed above the range, which is was what we really wanted to see. So all we have left is really taking out these two highs right here. And right now we're battling that. So, but if we look at this completely zoomed out, you can see we have, you know, consolidation within this box because we really had no price history. This is the longest period of time where XRP has been above $1, let alone, or say, above $2, let alone $1, right? So, you know, we have really all of this empty space up in here. So that's why it's taking a little bit longer, because it's building in the layers of support needed so that when it breaks out, and let's say we had to come back down for a bear market, right? Then we have, at least we have a little bit of price history here to hold the, or support the price, right? So the bigger this is, the more support you'll get later on. But people don't think about 12 months down the road. All they care about is let's get the breakout. But yeah, but then when you get the bear market, you're gonna have to, you're gonna want to have a lot of support. And XRP's got the best chart for support, because if you look, we basically have built a 7-year base, right? For a, you know, it's been a long time. So if we take this, basically you can see this base is twice as big, more than twice as big as this base, right? So we're well on our way, and I really like how we're cupping, you know, this is your resistance. We're cupping into the resistance. We're cupping into the resistance while building bases at the bottom of these cups. So structurally speaking, from a zoomed out perspective, we have everything we needed, right? So I think we're well on our way. And with that, let's take a look at the smaller time frames, right? As we know, we're in a fourth wave. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can see wave 2 and wave 4 are roughly the same size, meaning they're in the same degree, which is exactly what you want. So if we look further, let's zoom in to the, let's look at the daily. You can see we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 green days in a row. Really 8 if you count this one, not counting that red candle. So that's a lot of candles. So I would imagine we would get some kind of pullback or some kind of correction in here. And you can kind of see on the smaller time frames maybe a little bit of bearish divergence forming, which is totally fine. Now we can break out, but if we do break out, we're still going to have to correct, right? We're gonna need some kind of flag in here. And if we look at, you know, this run up, you can see the corrections are really small. They're really not too big. So it might not take that long. It really depends on Bitcoin, and we'll look at Bitcoin. So the structure, right, is a expanded flat, right? So if we have 3 down, or you can look at it like 3 down, and we have 3 up, then there's a chance, bearishly speaking, short term, that we could have 3 back down, right? So it would be a 3-wave move, a WXY or an ABC, and then you go up. Is that what's happening? I don't think so. I think that would take too long. But then again, some of these other altcoins look like they need an additional time. So it's kind of tricky. So what I would say is look at your retrace levels. Now, retrace levels don't mean much if it's going to turn into a flat anyway, but you can see we've completely closed. Well, not yet. So this is the daily candle, and we have 5 hours to go, less than that by the time you see the video. But if we can close above 286, then that means we close above the 702 on a daily candle, which is exactly what we want. So then really all we have left is that $3 level, and then we can be on our way to our first target, which would be, you know, really anywhere between 388 and 450. So it's looking pretty good. Now, if we look at it from, you know, a more simple way to look at it, you know, you're looking at like 361, 340 around there from a trend-based perspective. You can see we already hit the 1-to-1 right here, which is equal. This A and this wave here is equal, right? So we don't know if it's going to be an ABC, right? So any way you look at it, we have a 3-wave move, and we're right in the middle of the retrace levels. So it's very dangerous. This is the most dangerous place you can possibly be in, because you have a 3-wave move and you're in the retrace levels. So it's literally do or die. So literally we flag out, we break, or we have 3 down, then we go later on, and it becomes a bigger, more complex 3-wave move. So either way, we should get that breakout at some point this year. So hopefully it's sooner rather than later. July is one of the best times for the stock market. And crypto, it's usually a hit or miss. If we look at Bitcoin back in the day, if I can find it real quick, if we look at Bitcoin, you can see we basically tapped into 120K. We went all the way up to 123K. But what I wanted to show you is if you go back in time, back to the summer of 2019, you could see we had this whole run up kind of in June, July area. So I thought that was interesting. But it ended up just being a retrace, and then we had like over 6 months of, you know, correcting before we really got started. Not saying that's going to happen now, but so let's zoom in a little bit. And by the way, the bull market support band is beautiful, right? We came into it, and look where we broke out of. We broke out of right on that bull market support band. So that was cool. So if we zoom in further and we look at the wave structure on the way up, you can see we built this little base right in here, kind of like a really complicated Wyckoff structure with a spring, right? You have that deviation there. We came up, we had a reverse flag, kind of like a 1-2-1-2. It could have been a diag, right? It could have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then a three-wave pullback, but that wasn't the case. I'm glad, right? So it really looks like a 1, 2, 1, 2. You know, it was revving up, right? It's revving up. So that's what it did. It broke out. So if we look at the wave now, and we look at the RSI, you can see we have some pretty extreme bearish divergence forming. So that means we probably need a correction, right? So a correction. So for example, if this is 5 waves, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? What do you want to see? You want to see it kind of flag out for a little bit. It could take, you know, a little time before continuing higher. Another thing that could be playing out here is that we have 1, 2, 3, and what we're doing here is a flat. So let's look closer here. So if we look at it from a flat perspective, and I don't really like it as a flat. On some of the other charts, it looks way better, but let's zoom in even more. So there's a couple ways we can look at this. So if this is 3 down and this is 3 up, then we could have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down, or 3, and it would be a flat. It could be a running flat, an expanded, well, we don't know. And then we go up, and basically what that is just simply, pretty simple, is just basically a correction here, right? Before heading up. So yeah, that's basically the idea. Now the other idea is that we have our 5th wave in here, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now we're going to get the ABC and then go up. So it really depends how it's going to play out. So either way, it looks like you need some kind of correction. But what if we don't? What if we keep pumping? Then what? Well, in that situation, I would imagine that the 5th wave is not done yet, right? So if we look at it a little bit more zoomed out, we could, this could just keep, pumping up here. And then you have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you get the 3-way pullback at a higher level. So which one's it going to be? It's kind of hard to figure out at this moment. So let's look at the other charts. You can see we're kind of pulling back a little bit. So Bitcoin looks pretty heated here. So Bitcoin, this doesn't look like a flat. This looks like a 5th wave to me. And you can see Bitcoin is coming down. So we could, come down and retest this area, right? And then have like a B, and then maybe a C, and then have that little liquidity area, and then continue. But we got to remember, we're trending higher, right? So any pullbacks should be welcomed, right? We want pullbacks. We don't want it to get too overheated. So here's a couple areas where we could pull back to if it wanted to be an aggressive pullback. So I would say as long as we stay above this level here, 109, 110, I think that's where we need to be. I think we need to stay above 110 in order to keep that bullish posture. Now, if we have a little bit of a pullback, then we should see 5 waves up. So that's kind of how I'm viewing Bitcoin at the moment. Now, you can kind of see a little bit of like a shoulder, a head, and a shoulder. So if you measure the head, right, up to that neckline, roughly speaking, you're looking at like 162. I would say between like 150 and 160 to be conservative on that target. Now, it's not really confirmed that that's what it is. It has a little bit of issues, but you can see the inverse you could see the inverse head and shoulders right there. So another way we can look at it is a couple fibs here, and we'll pull them down. You can see we already hit the 1.414 basically, right? So we could be almost finished. I mean, you're gonna find a little bit of resistance in here. It respected right there and right there. So the next level would be 130, and that could happen as soon as this week. So we'll see how it continues to progress, but you can see, you know, Bitcoin came up, it had this little reverse flag following that, you know, that three-wave move, and now we got the breakout. So, you know, a correction would be standard. So anyway, that's Bitcoin. If we look at Bitcoin dominance, you can see Bitcoin dominance, you know, it had this big crash, and then it had three waves up. It took the high, and then it got rejected, and then it's kind of distributing up here. So maybe we get a little pump up here, and then hopefully keep going down. So that's the idea. We want to go down. We want to go way below 60%, and that's going to do really well for the altcoins. So let's look at a few alts and see what's going on here. Now there's much more information in the members video in terms of like rotations and kind of like strategy and things like that. So if you want to, again, if you want to check that out, you can. I will put another one out pretty soon. Lately it's been a little bit dry just because there's not much going on. You know, we're building our base down. We're building support down in here. So, you know, I think we're gearing up for a retrace. So let's look at SHIB. Now the meme coins, along with other coins, aren't really doing too well, right? So, but I still like the meme coins. So let's look at SHIB. I think SHIB, just structurally speaking, to me looks like one of the better structures just because of how sideways it went. You know, if you kind of look at XRP for a second and we look down here, and let's take everything off the screen, and we look at this structure right here, and you look at, you know, XRP and SHIB, you can kind of see something very interesting coming in here, right? You got the pump, the crash, right? But the difference is SHIB created a big base right here, which well, I'll talk about that in a second. But basically, we had our retrace, and then you see we came down, and then we went into reaccumulation, and we blasted off. So you can see we came down. We didn't crash down. We had a very nice three-wave move back down. Now, I'm not comparing XRP to SHIB. XRP is it's not even in the same ballpark as in terms of, you know, like technology and Ripple and all that. I'm just comparing the charts. So we should see an explosion out of here based off this type of move. Now you could say, well, when SHIB came down, or when XRP came down, there's SHIB there. What did it do? It came up and then it went sideways for so long. So that would mean we would have to go sideways for like another year, or another 6 months? No. Why? Because if you look, what I was saying earlier, we already put that work in. So that box is just placed differently, right? So we had that sort of accumulation. So if you ask me, this actually looked better than this, if you want to know the truth. Now, I'm not saying we're going to get this type of move with SHIB right here. That would be insane. But let's say we did for just a split second. What would that be? Well, if we take a fib and we put it down, we just crush the 4.236 and we went even higher than that. So we'll just use that assessment, 4.236. And then we'll look at this on log scale, and you can see we hit the 2.272. That's exactly what Dogecoin did, by the way, in 2021. Insane move, right? So between the 4.236 logs linear and 2.272 log. So if we do the same type of look for SHIB, and we'll do the bigger target first. We'll look at the 2.272. I mean, that son of a gun is way up here at 0.0030. And you say, well, I don't really understand. It's kind of, when coins are fractions and fractions and fractions of a penny, it's really hard to grasp just how the percentages are. So you really have to use a measurement. So if I use a measurement and I go all the way up to the 2.272, I mean, jeez, that's 25,000%. Now, there's no way I think that's going to happen. There's just no way. Remember, XRP did it because there wasn't that many coins back then, and it was in a different environment. And I don't think a meme coins surprised the hell out of everyone. So it's possible. I just wouldn't count on it, is what I mean. So let's give it a more rational look and take that off and look at it from this perspective. So what would that be? This would be, let's see what the percentage is, roughly from where we are now. That's still good. That's a 26x. I mean, that's still pretty good. Now, if we wanted to be even more conservative than that, well, a standard target, the minimum target I'm expecting, if SHIB, we have to clear the black numbers, right? We got to clear the black. 702, even the 786. If we can clear all of that in the all-time high, then the 1618 is totally on the table, which is the standard target, which is roughly almost a 10x. So I think SHIB is definitely a 10x contender, especially because if you look at the entire chart, it really hasn't went bonkers yet. Like, unlike Doge, it's really only gone up about a 16x over its entire life. That's why I'm interested in it, because it's not like Doge where it's completely in the stratosphere. It's in the realm of, hey, I can get in on this. Now, again, meme coins are extremely risky. And who knows? It might not even work. It might just crash. But I think SHIB is one of the, better meme coins. So it's definitely my biggest holding as far as memes go. I only have like one, two, three. I think I have like 3 memes. That's it. But anyways, the reason why I think it's so interesting is because, again, you had your pump, you had your crash, but instead of going below, you built support, right? And then you broke that support. And then you had a 3-wave move that back tested the support. And that took over 7 months. And then, over a year. And then you created divergence. You had 5 waves. You're back testing. So at the minimum, we should expect a retrace back up here. So that's basically it for SHIB. And then if we can get beyond that, basically above this line, we should expect a 1618, and that's a 10x move. So we'll see how it all plays. But anyway, that's SHIB. So, all right, let's look at Theta, something that has utility. So Theta is basically the same thing. It's got that same kind of look to it. And if I look at it compared to XRP again, like we did SHIB, it's definitely different. It definitely doesn't have that same kind of look. But if we just look at it wave by wave, right? You come down, you come down, you come up, come back down, go sideways. So are we going to go sideways before blasting off? I mean, it's possible, right? I just don't know, because based off where Bitcoin is, it would make more sense that instead of going sideways for so long, we would start, maybe go sideways a little bit, but then get back up here, right? We want to get back in this this level right here. This is the most important level, I think, because it's resistance from here, right? And it's resistance from here. So it's a very important spot, and that's between 3 and say like $3 and $4. So let's just say $5. Getting above $5 would be insane. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's look closer. You know, Bitcoin's going crazy, XLM's going crazy, but then you see some of these coins, they're just not, like, a lot of them just haven't really done anything special, right? All it did was, you know, what's really special about it is how this wave is finished. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? That whole thing took over 7 months. You have the bullish divergence. So this is barely the little tiny beginnings of what I believe could be a major reversal. So that's the big part. Now, it still is corrective, right? You're still building kind of structures in here. So, you know, all we have is 3 waves up. So we can easily get 3 waves down and then kind of go up and build more of a structure, right? So there's a lot of different things that can form. The big thing is, what is the overall direction? And I think that would be up. Now, nothing I say here is financial advice. I could be totally wrong, right? So if we look closer at the wave structure on this, we can see, you know, we had this, you know, this consolidation, or even like a 1-2 in here. We pumped. So this is really what's going on, is right here, which is what? Which could be a flat, A, B, and C. This is probably what's happening. And then we go up. So that's what I think is playing out right now. And I'm glad. You want Mondays to be bearish. Every time I've noticed, when you have a bullish Monday, it just kind of messes it up. So if we have a bearish Monday, the important day of crypto is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I think those are the most important days, especially Thursdays. I mean, it could be different, but it's normally, I think those are the days. So to me, you know, if there's 2 ways, this could be a 5th wave, and then we go A, B, C, and then go. Or we have kind of like 3 down, you get 3 up, and then you get maybe, you know, something like that, and then go. So a flat. So that's kind of what I'm expecting. Now, it could happen soon, right? We can get a little bit of a pump and then it can be done. I don't think it's finished yet. I think we got a little bit more down, but it could be a running flat where it doesn't break the low. So we'll see how it plays out, but that's basically it for Theta. You know, we got a big journey ahead of us. You know, so it can happen quick. It's just, you know, sometimes it takes time. You know, kind of like here, we came down and we went sideways. So if this is gonna do that for a little bit, then hey, whatever, right? So that's pretty much it for Theta. Nothing too extraordinary. You know, we're basically flat today. There's really nothing going on. I mean, there's a lot going on, but there's just nothing exciting at the moment going on. So let's look at XLM. XLM had a big couple days, and XLM is basically the exact same thing as XRP in terms of price structure, except XLM could be so much more in percentage terms because it has a lower market cap, because it doesn't have to fight so hard for price, right? So theoretically, XLM can just completely whip XRP's butt in terms of percentages. If we look at the 4.236, we're looking at roughly from where we are now, that's still a good 8x, well, probably between 5 and 7x right there for XLM. Now, a lot of the smaller cap coins, you can use log scale. So if we use the log scale, this would be the 1618, and that would come in at $8. Can you imagine XLM hitting $8? I don't think it's going to happen because XRP's main target would be $8. So XLM hitting $8 is the equivalent of XRP hitting $26. So just keep that in mind. So, and here's the other problem. Well, not a problem, but again, you're cupping into the resistance, right? So we should get going here. But the issue could be that we have 3 waves, right? So if we have 3 waves down and then we get 3 waves up, it is totally possible to get 3 waves or 5 back down before going up, and it turns into a massive flag that takes all year. Well, maybe not all year, but it could take a while. So that's the risk where we're at right now. So we're at a very dangerous place. So that's why it's so important if the coin is going to go for it, it has to go for it, because you're in the middle of the retrace and you have a 3-wave move. That's so dangerous. It's the most riskiest place to be, because this is the turning point for a breakout or a major downturn. This is the spot. We're at the crossroads. So which one's it going to be? Well, hopefully it's upside. But if it is downside and we had to go through hell, then just know that the wave going back up would probably be a lot better. It'd probably be bigger, right? Because it corrected for longer, so it's going to be, kind of on pins and needles here, trying to see how this plays out. So hopefully it plays out the way we want it to. Now the daily chart, we closed above, let me put that off of the linear now. Let's go to our log. So we closed above the 618, barely. Or we're actually still below it. But you could see we kind of got rejected off of the 702. So we're right in that area. And XLM just had a massive pump. So, what is the alternative? Well, the alternative is what we want, which is just get a little bit of a pullback and then keep going. Otherwise, if we get rejected, then it's going to turn into a major issue. So those are really the 2 options. Again, we're at a big crossroads here. So how do you know which ones are going to be? How do you, because if we're expecting it to pull back, if we're expecting, for it to flag out, how do we know that that flag isn't going to turn into something worse? Well, that's kind of for the members video, but essentially it's just tracking the wave and seeing exactly how the structure looks, and if we do break down, do we get rejected on the way up? But this wave structure looks great. It looks a little heated though. You got several waves in here. So if we zoom in, I think we got more downside. I think this needs to come down more, like over here, and then come up, and then come down, and then go. Give me a proper 3-wave correction, because basically we just went straight up. If you look at this as a parabola, I mean, I think it's broken. So yeah, it looks like it needs to. It looks like it needs to correct. It looks like it needs to come down. So I took my profit for sure. Now, if it just flies up, hey, I made my money. That's why you just take partial profit. But to me, it looks like, well, there's another option too, where you have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you have 3 waves up, you get 3 waves down, and then you get 5 up, and then that becomes A, and then you go up in B, right? And then you kind of come down in C, and then go up, right? So it tricks you down here, it tricks you over here, and then it tricks you over here. See? That's why trading is hard. It's not easy. People who say, oh, it's easy, why don't, it's not easy, it's hard. There's so many variables, there's so many things that can happen. But, that's why you kind of have to you just got to practice, right? You just got to feel it. You got to feel what it's doing. So we already looked at SHIB, but I feel like SHIB is more of a running flat. I feel like, you got 3. So we could see like maybe a rotation from like XRP, XLM's been doing well. Maybe the other coins like memes or, different, like you got DeFi, you got AI, you got all these different factors, layer 1, layer, all that. So we could have maybe like a rotation in here. So I'm really expecting maybe another wave down and then a continuation. I mean, it could be done now, but I don't know. It could be like, for example, A and then B and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, C. A, B, C. So you do have bullish divergence on the 15-minute, if that means anything. So right there. So we could kind of pop up again coming soon. So let's look at more charts. Let's look at FET. So this one's definitely interesting from a macro perspective because you could see it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, right? And then you kind of have like 3 there. So is this like a wave 1 and that's an A and that's a B? Or no. Well, no, that couldn't be because, yeah, that's not right. That couldn't be right. So I would just look at this as a 1, 2, and then another 1, and then another 2. So you have another 1. So is this going to be like a 3-wave move down and then continue up? I feel like the market is definitely more bullish, but I feel like we pumped a lot last week. So just expect, we could have corrections in here now because a lot of these other alts, they're still kind of down in the dumps. So they might need a little bit more time to get going. Like FET, you can see it's still in its flag, right? It didn't have that pop. Unlike, let's see. Like, let's look at AVAX. Like, AVAX had the pop, out of that range. So, but even AVAX looks like, you're coming into some kind of flat in here. So, that's kind of what I'm thinking across the board is just getting this flat in here fixed and ready to go. Otherwise, this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you would still need A, B, C, and then go. So really, come down, and then on the way up, that retrace is either going to break us out or we're going to come down. So we'll have to count the waves. We'll have to look at the structure on the retrace on the way up. Other than that, same. Everything's really the same. It's the same thing with everything else, basically. Trump, definitely a little bit different. More of a 3-wave shape than a kind of like that flat look to it. It looks a little bearish. Short term. So you have what seems to be, you know, like 1, 2, 3, and then you have, looks like, is that 3 or 5? Looks like 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A, 3 waves up. B, and then you got 1, 2. We're going down to the third, then get 4, then get 5 for C. And then you have a proper ABC. So that's what I'm thinking for Trump coin. ICP, it's more of the flat look. So again, it could be A, B, C, then go, or it could be a running flat or a regular flat and then go. So really that's the options. Ethereum, exactly the same thing. You know, you could look at it as 5. You could look at it as 3 almost. So the best thing to do is just kind of wait and see how it plays out. XRP versus Bitcoin looks probably a little bit of bearish divergence here. So just a little bit, well, on the 8-hour. But again, the wave might not be completely finished yet. But yeah, this chart looks amazing. Look at that thing. You got 3, you got 3, you got a massive 3, right? And then you got 5. And then you even had 5 there, and a divergence, and a base, and a break. Right back at resistance. So you want to flag out and then keep going. The price is a living, breathing entity. It needs to catch its breath when it's overheated. So Polygon, I mean, you got 5 waves, you got 3 down, 1, 2, you got a 1, 2, you got a 3, let's get 4, and then 5. I mean, that's kind of what it seems. The other alternative is maybe we just go sideways for a little bit and build a base. Or it could be a Wyckoff situation where we do something like that. And, you know, so ADA doesn't look completely horrible anymore. I mean, a little bit. It's still, the concerning part about this is we got to break. It looks like we did. It looks like we got to break above that downward resistance line. So it looks like we did, which is good. So we're kind of flirting with it. It's not completely confirmed yet until maybe we got to back test a little bit. You know, or as long as we kind of ride that line, we can keep going up. So, but if you want to be more conservative and say that's the line, well, then you got a long way to go. I would say the main line, the more important line, is like 85 cents. You know, you got all of this. This is the line that I think we're going to. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 3-wave pullback, get back up here, and then hopefully keep moving. Total 3. Total 3 is a little bit of a issue just because it took the high and it got rejected. I don't like that at all. I would have preferred it to get a little bit more, or don't break it. Just come up here and don't break it. So you got 3 down. Is this 3 up? And then you get 3 back down and then go, and we don't go till November? I mean, I don't know. Hopefully not. Hopefully it happens sooner. And then the way it will happen sooner, like for HBAR, is we just got to correct a little bit here and keep going. So, do we have any 9s? I haven't looked. On the 4-hour, not really. Almost had a couple of them, but not really. 2-hour, you had a 9. So, this could be a flat. Three-wave correction, three-wave correction. So, link, you know, I'd like to see it come down and then go back up. Get that three-wave structure, that flat look to it. Right? So that's basically it. I mean, I looked at a lot of coins. Litecoin, I mean, it's so Litecoin, same thing, pretty much. You know, you got the expanded flat, you got a move up, a move down, and then a retrace. So you kind of want to keep it pushing up here. We want to get back in the higher retrace levels and go from there. So Algorand, man, Algorand 8 XLM had a pretty good pop. I think HBAR did too. So yeah, you got this double bottom here, basically. You know, following that three-way, that major expanded flat. So, you know, when you make a double bottom without taking the low from the initial impulse, that tells me we're going to get continuation, at least back up to the higher retrace levels, right? See, now you look at Filecoin, it looks different, right? So Filecoin and Theta, I mean, there's a lot of them that, you know, SHIB, there's a lot of them that look like this, where they're in more of a bearish phase. And that's a lot, partly because they had such major bull runs last cycle. And then also, I don't know if Filecoin's American or I know that American coins are doing better just because of the policy, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. But essentially, same thing with Filecoin. I mean, you got this three-wave move, you got 5 down, I think you got divergence. So you want to build a little bit of a structure, and you want to get back up here. And then once you get up here, you still got a lot of work to do. So, but I think as an investor, I mean, this would be amazing prices for the future. Especially Filecoin, because, you know, just getting back to the top of theirs, almost a 4x, let alone getting, you know, a 30x just to get back to the retrace level. Now you got inflation and stuff like that, so you kind of want to look more towards the market cap. Render, you know, three-wave move. No, same thing, double bottom, right? Doge, kind of, you know, is that a diag? Is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? And then you need A, and then you come up in B, and then you get C, and then you go. I mean, it kind of looks like it a little bit. Hopefully, it's a 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. I mean, IMX. Just kind of looking at, just kind of scanning through some of them here. Yeah, so we really want that to break. Otherwise, this has to be an ABC. VeChain. VeChain looks a little weird. I mean, you got all of this support in here. The bad, you know, you don't want to come up and then come back down. Then you got that ugly head and shoulders. So if it's going to go for it, it should hopefully break it. Zcash could be interesting. Monero as well. XRP dominance. Expecting 5 waves. T-drop. It looks fine to me. I mean, without the wicks, you got an impulse, a 3-way pullback, So want to get, everything needs a retrace for the most part. And then Bitcoin, XRP, and things like that need more of a, well, XRP needs is already in the retrace levels and it needs a complete breakout. That's total vehicle sales. QNT. You're kind of cupping. So that's good. You're cupping into the resistance as opposed to cupping down into support. So, yeah. Anyway, I think that's it. Real quick, gold. Gold just looks like it's having a correction. It looks like, maybe something like that. Or 3, 3, and 3, and then something like that. Or if it's done, then you could have like a big flag. I don't think gold's quite done yet. Silver's the more important one. Silver is definitely more manipulated. It's more suppressed. It's more important. Silver is the people's money. Gold is basically the elite's money. It's harder to regulate gold than it is silver. So if you ever went to a gold standard, it'd probably be better to go to a silver standard or some kind of mixed ratio. But yeah, silver is just literally has the biggest cup and handle in the history of all charts. I mean, you literally have almost 40, 50 year cup and handle there. It's insane. So I expect it to keep grinding and then eventually break out. So USDT, Tether dominance is looking really interesting. It looks like it went straight up, and now it looks like it wants to crash. So maybe everybody will sell their Tether into real assets. So the dollar is, you got a 3-wave move, a pump, a 3-wave move. The dollar, you have a 3-wave move here. So, it's probably got to come back up at some point. Anyways, that's it for all of the charts. There's really nothing else there. So just for Bitcoin on the small time frames, you have a little bit of a dump. I expect maybe a little bit more, but then I expect a retrace and then probably a little bit more, and then we'll reevaluate it. So anyways, that'll do it. Go check out the Money Masters. If you really want to have more conviction in holding your crypto, just watch the documentary The Money Masters. It's a history lesson of money and finance and banks and how it's all rigged and why crypto and gold and things like that are important. And it's definitely an eye-opener how the banks weaseled their way in to basically take over everything. So anyways, not financial advice. I will catch you guys on the next one. Cheers.